Hello there, and welcome to part 3 of this Assetto Corsa modding series. Now, if you haven't seen the first two, I highly recommend go back and watch those first. It covers the idea behind the car, kind of putting it all together, the mock, and then doing the fenders. That's the premises of the first two episodes. Now, for this one, we are working on the hood. If you have seen previous episodes, you'll realize we have a different bumper. This is actually the bumper we're going to be using. We will obviously remodel this because it's got the indentations for the original headlights, which doesn't have anymore. We now have pop-ups. So first things first, we're going to grab every important part of the car. So that's going to be the bumper, the fender, the pop-ups, which we've installed, the hood, and that should actually be it. So we're going to hit Shift H and isolate just these pieces. Now we're going to do a Shift A, bring a plane into existence, scale it down. We don't need it too big, just so we can see the entirety of it, especially when we go to actually put it into place. Now we're just going to go into our side view using our little spiky toy up here, whatever this is actually called, the viewpoint. Is it? Okay, it's a preset viewpoint. Okay, that's I knew every day. So we're on X-axis here. We're going to jump up to the top-down view, and first thing we do, tab to edit, Control R to go into loop cut. You make sure it's center. Easiest way to do that, you Control R, click once. You can move wherever you want, but just press Escape. Puts it dead center. Put it dead center between the two vertices. Well, vertice to the left and vertice to the right every time. So now what we're going to do is we're going to delete the vertices to the left. I always work on the right-hand side of the car. Even when I get to the rear, it'll pretty much all drive to the same side. I've had times where I've done it on the other side, brought it over, and the normals have all been flipped. So doing this has always been consistent, and always had made sure that the normals are on the right side, actually the right way around. So now we're going to go out of edit mode, and we're going to quickly do a bevel, a subdivision surface, put the boundary smooth to keep corners, and then we're going to bring in a mirror modifier, which will help us with creating everything, so we only ever have to model one half of the car. Obviously, if you're doing asymmetric things, model the basis, apply the mirror, and then do the asymmetric parts. So now we're going to turn off the subdivision and bevel temporarily. As soon as you start doing that, it starts adding curvature and trying to smooth itself out. Very annoying when you're trying to apply the actual body to the car, while the panel's over the top of the original ones. So now we're going to go to the top here, and we're going to bring these all the way up. So we're going to grab and bring it up on the y-axis, and we'll do both while we're at it. Actually, there's no real use to that just yet, because we do need to realign the bottom one as well. So what we're going to do is we're just going to bring these two down, grab the y-axis and drag these down carefully till we get where we want. Now we're going to drag this across. So we're going to try and reduce how many vertices at first we are actually dealing with. So I'm going to slide this up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this back, because I'm building this. I'm going to bring this back just a bit. You don't want overlapping or touching directly on the actual panels next to it, except for when you're doing, like, obviously, the hood to the bumper. The way these are designed is they are meant to sit on each other with a bit of a gap between, obviously for airflow and all that. So with this, we can actually model over onto that line, and then obviously we just adjust it when we get to it. So now that's in place, we need to go up here and adjust this one, grab on the y-axis, and we're just going to go into X-ray right here, because we actually need to see where the lines are, and put it just about there. And that's a nice little point. Bring this one up here, and one more just here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put a loop cut in here, and we're going to line this up with the headlight. Because this is going to be the next important part, because we have these pop-ups in here now. We pretty much need to extrude this edge here. So I'm grabbing the two vertices. If you want, you can press 2 on your keyboard, not your numpad, but your actual keyboard itself. You can press 2 and you can select any of the edges. I tend to stick to vertices.
because then I can easily just grab this, that's that, or I can go to working on each individual vertex. But we're gonna grab this edge here essentially, extrude on the x-axis. I'm gonna bring it straight across here. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab this one vertex, grab it on the y-axis, and we're just put it right there. I'm gonna grab this one, and because this is essentially going to be this corner here, I'm going to bring it up and put it right there. So this actually improves on the issue we have with this fender not actually lining up fully. As you can see, it kind of has a bit more curvature to it than it should. Now, I can do that and cut it back a bit. But I think that'll be enough for that. So I just added one extra little. No, actually no, because that's going to try and it's going to add a straight line through there, and we don't want that. We want to keep that curve on the fender. So we're going to do this one. And I'm going to bring a loop cut through here, and I'm going to bring that to here. So this essentially will just give us our basic shape of the hood. Obviously very low poly. Now what we do is we're going to go through and apply any other important ones we need to have before we line it up with the original hood. So this one here, which will then bring this back a bit. And I believe we should do one more here, just to keep it off the actual headlight itself. And we can do that one later. I'll bring this back out a little bit. Okay, so what we do now with this, or this is what I do. So we'll now lower it down, because usually, because of the way we've done it, this vertex right here should be the first one to touch. Yep, so just going to lift it up just above it a little bit. And I'm pretty much just going to go around the outside and pretty much put these inside the hood, because pretty much what I'm going to do is I'm going to recreate the hood without the bulge, and then we're probably going to do like a little bit of an aftermarket vent or something into it, because obviously this is not going to be a stock Stagea, so we need to make sure there is some extra airflow in here for it. And because these don't actually match up, obviously I have to sort of eyeball it a bit. And then once we get everything in and we extrude the hood, then we'll go through and double check everything. So for now, just get the basic vertices in. Obviously, you will come across some tough spots, like this point, for instance, where the headlight actually sits lower than the hood. That will cause some slight issues. But obviously, we can work past those just by angling the camera the correct way. And bring it down there. Now just go through and line these up with the hood. And as you can see, while we're doing this, the other half is doing all the heavy work for me that I would have had to have manually done, which meant we wouldn't have actually had a symmetrical hood. We would have obviously had bits sitting a bit higher than others, and we don't want that. And now it's time to go through. And get the rest of this hood lined up. Okay, so now we can actually remove that and see what we have. Obviously, we're going to have a lot of raised edges from parts like the
the headlights and the fender and all that, but that's what all the loop cuts are going to be for. So I'm just going to do 2 loop cuts here, and I'm going to raise this up. And pretty much removed that entire issue right there. So alongside that, there is a little bit of a drop in the headlight. So that should work with that. So just a little bit. So pretty much at this point, you just want to kind of mess around. And if you're making something absolutely custom, then keep playing around, get the sweet spot where pretty much you have the basis done, and then you start playing with it. And that's always the fun part for me is once you get the bass in, you can then just go wild and just create whatever your mind can think of. So as we can see here, we have a bit of a gap. So what we'll do, we'll bring it over and we'll just slide it in. Like there. Forward a little bit. And we'll just tweak these to look a bit more natural. Obviously we have to bring this down a little bit, and we'll try and bring the flow of the hood down to. Okay, I'm just going to raise a bit of the fender up a little bit. And I need to tweak the height of this hood. Now we'll smooth it, we'll throw on everything here, and oh, would you look at that. That pretty much almost did everything I wanted to do. So now we're going to select all the outer vertices. I used, so holding the Alt key and left clicking, depending on which way you do it on the actual edges here, will select an entire row. If it didn't tries, it will struggle, because obviously it will hit a vertex and it'll have 2 more split off of it, and it doesn't like that. But pretty much what you can do after you do the Alt click with this line here, Alt Shift, go to the next one, Shift, next one, Shift, next one. And there you go, there is your entire edge selected. Now we're going to extrude on the Z-axis down, and we do the same thing as we did with the fenders. And go through and make it all work. It's a matter of just going around to each side if it needs to, adjust them to fit according to the panels around. So for instance, the hood, along where the fender is, needs to slide a bit more inwards towards the center of the hood, as the fender is set up to flare out a little bit, and the hood to the bumper. I need to bring this back and lift it up, because I need to take into the fact of how this bumper sits. Now we're going to do some loop cuts along here. I think it's looking very, very nice. Throw a loop cut in here, and we need to give this a nice curve. So obviously once you've done all this, there will be a chance, like I had just then, where the hood actually won't keep aligned with the fender in height and just running alongside it. It's just parallel. You will have to adjust it to fit. Obviously, that's where doing extra loop cuts, just like along here, will kind of keep it a bit straighter. But it's all a matter of tweaking it, getting all the lines right. And making sure you're happy with the work you do. That's obviously the biggest part. I'm going to do another loop along here. So that's a one fairly clean hood. Could think of what it was for a sec. So I'm just going to quickly clean up a bit of these loop cuts here, just to make sure that they are on point. Because you will obviously come across points where you will sit there and do a loop cut, and you're like, yeah, but it looks all good, it's all good, and then all of a sudden, yeah, you have this random raised spot in the hood, like I have right here, actually. So what I'm doing is I'm just using the light bouncing off of it when I can, or at least getting the right angle to see whether or not it's actually making a mark, or leaving a crease in the body panels. Creases are not fun, especially if you are working with 3D printing models. Creases will appear. I highly recommend try and if you're going to do any of this 3D modeling, try and get to a point where there is minimal crease work, or any creases in here. Like for instance, actually here in this bumper or the fender here, you can see there's a random indent. That will show in a 3D render or in a 3D print. So always make sure that anything you're working with nice and smooth. Try to keep all your topology good. It'll work out well for you. And I get a nice like curve around this headlight. But at the same time, I need to make sure that I'm not randomly having this lower than it should be. Yeah, I think that'll do. I'm not one for making them absolutely 100% perfect. This is virtual after all, and this won't be printed. I can guarantee you. This kit probably will never make it past the Assetto, but I will try to still keep it clean, keep any creases out of it. We need to sharpen this up a little bit. We want to see that bit of a drop, which will actually determine the future of this bumper. If you hide that, that actually looks really cool. This is going to be one truly unique front end for a 350Z. Even though we are making for a Stagea. But now that we have all this in play, what we can do if we wanted to is we can actually raise these here. That will go along here too. Get these ones.
And we'll start with these. Lift it up, bring these forward a bit, and then start playing with vertices. Next, we've done all these loop cuts. We actually just have a massive, like a little bit of a playground essentially. And all we're going to do is just play with the parts we're handed. I'm actually going to grab these three. Is right up here. I'm going to bring this down. And then what I'm going to do, actually first things first, these, lower them down. Awesome. I'm going to throw one more loop cut in here because I do kind of want this panel to come down a bit. And go these, and we're just going to delete the face. And we have an instant little vent. Obviously, you can tweak it, you can do stuff. If I tend to put little slats in there, what I usually do is I'll grab a cube or a plane. Either one works for this, honestly. And what I'll do, bring to the middle, scale it down, slide it forward. Same thing we did with the hood. Cut it in half. Bevel, subdivision, mirror. Slide it right across. Obviously, we'll raise this up. Now we're going to do a bit of a shade smooth on it. Bring it down, slide it forward. Yeah, well, a little bit of a kink in here. Make it look a bit fancy. Just need to do the cute corners. We're going to adjust the merge so it sort of keeps it nice and clean. And I'm going to bring this up here and one across. I'm showing this in X-ray so I can see. Okay, that's that. So then all I'll do is I'll just go Shift D, which puts me into a essentially cloned it, but it's already put me into the movement phase. So instead of having to go Control C, Control V, selecting it G, and then all that, we can do D. Does the Control C, Control V for me. Already puts me on the item, the new item selected, and I can just press the axis and start moving. I can also scale, extrude, do anything direct from that movement of the Shift D. And all I do is I just go here and bring these both up a little bit. Shift Y. And we'll do one more Shift D Y. And I'm going to dissolve the edges and delete those vertices and dissolve the vertice. So there we go. We got some slats in the middle of it. Very basic ones, but they actually do look quite nice. I wasn't actually expecting to be putting these in. But there you have it. Obviously, all we do is we just tweak them to make sure they all are the same distance. This one needs to come down a little bit. Yep. There we go, that's much better. So that covers the basics of making a hood. Obviously from here you can go and
cut holes wherever you want, extrude, do anything wild, or just go clean and simple. Obviously, I went with a bit more of a out there vibe to it, but that's just my choice on this kit. No, that's not. Oh, okay, that's why. Okay. Yeah, that works there. I think it actually needs to be lowered. There's a bit more of a sharper line along it. Or control. Deal with that. Okay, that'll do. And obviously, if you want to sharpen it up a little bit on the edges, it's up the levels for viewport. But obviously, with that, you are also going to cause a higher poly count. So if I apply all this at the 13,000 poly count, you know. If I do it on the 1, that's a 4,000 poly, a bit more reasonable. But I usually never tend to apply these because you apply them, you're pretty much confirming that's what you want. And sometimes it's a bit nicer just to actually still have the ability to go back and change it all. Yep, I'm going to take a little bit. Yeah, I think that'll do for this. Okay, well, thank you for watching part 3. Part 4, we're going to move over to the front bumper. Part 5, we'll do the side skirts. And then after that, I'll decide what to do next. I will obviously do a quick run through on KS Editor. I'm not going to go into too much detail because it's already going to be there. Animations I'm going to leave for another series coming up. AR mapping, I'll do a quick rundown on that for 3DS. I don't know how to probably do in Blender. I can do like some basic smart AR mapping, but that's just about it pretty much. But yeah, thank you for watching part 3, and I look forward to seeing you in part 4. I'll leave a link to my to my Instagram account if you do want to tag me in anything you make after seeing this, going through this tutorial. And I look forward to seeing you in part 4. Thank you very much. See you then.